From the longest lap of the season to the fastest, we head from Snetterton to Thruxton for rounds 10, 11 and 12 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. It's not only the fastest lap, it's a pretty daunting one as well, and it always delivers great action, with Ash Sutton being the lap record holder here and Dan Camish having been the driver that set the best ever qualifying lap around this Hampshire Speed Bowl. The man, of course, that was in great form at Snetterton 2 weeks ago was Jake Hill. He took those 2 race wins, and therefore he comes here 4th in the championship, behind Tom Ingram and Colin Turkington, with Ash Sutton, the championship leader, having not yet won a race. Josh Cook, the king of Thruxton, is 5th ahead of Dan Camish and Aidan Moffat, with Tom Chilton in 8th. So there's an awful lot to look forward to in this qualifying session. Again, it's going to be split into the 2 groups based on where they finished in free practice 2. Hybrid around here, well, we'll see just how much of a difference it's going to make. We'll also see whether it's a rear-wheel drive or a front-wheel drive circuit. At the start of the day, people were saying it'll all be about front-wheel drive, and then Jake Hill went fastest in FP1. Tom Ingram quickest in the 2nd free practice session. It's going to be really intriguing, that is for sure, and we are just minutes away from getting qualifying underway. But earlier on in the day, we heard the thoughts of some of the drivers as Louise Goodman and Tim Harvey took a stroll down the pit lane.
Well, for our annual trip to Thruxton, heading into qualifying, who do we absolutely have to talk to? The man who's known as the man who spends a lot of time here at Thruxton and loves this circuit and always does really well here. We'll resist using the actual phrase. But before we talk about Thruxton, I want to talk to you about Snetterton and that fantastic race 3 result. A 1, 2, 3 for the team. That was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. You know, it was a good day, and it was nice to finish it with locking out the top 3. The team really deserved it. They worked really, really hard. Of course, you know, I wish I would be leading that 3, but you know, I finished the day with two podiums and a great haul of championship points, and edged a bit closer to the top of the championship positions. Horrible
conditions there, all very changeable conditions there. Anyway. Touch wood, we might actually have an entirely dry weekend this weekend, but the hangover of last weekend is people have been able to carry tyres forward to this weekend as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I think some people that obviously didn't use the hard tyres have arrived here with a new set to start on, although they may have sacrificed a race back at Snetterton. So it's, yeah, we're feeling the effects of it for sure. But you know, I think nobody could have predicted that weather at Snetterton, and we looked at the weather forecast and nobody knew that was going to happen, and we've looked at it here and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but we're also a little bit apprehensive.
Never say never. What did you learn from that final session? You were quite low down, but I think the red flag flew just as you were on a quick lap. But what are your thoughts?
It's not been like an overly smooth day for me so far. Obviously this is the first time for me here in the Corolla. We've got a lot of knowledge from what's worked for me previously. Obviously the wheelbase of the car is very different, which has caused some very instability at high speed for me with the sort of setup that I've previously had. So we're trying to nudge it in the right direction. But again, as much as I'd love to come here and I want to be winning races and get as many of those as I can, it's still firmly eyes on the championship. If I can come here and get 3 solid point scores and edge that bit closer again, then we'll be happy. But we're just going to have to see what qualifying brings. But yeah, I'm obviously excited to be at my home track as always.
Josh, I can't believe you've got Louise making excuses for you about the red flag when you're on your, I can't believe it. But look, all of you are new to the Toyota this year. Have you found some commonality of setup, or are you all still experimenting?
Now, there's some commonality, but of course, in touring cars, you're looking for such fine margins that, you know, 1/10 of a second moves you up a lot of places. So, yes, some of it really works. Some of it we're still having to dial out characteristics that this car is giving me with the setup that I've sort of carried through, but you know, it's constant development, and of course there's a different powertrain unit as well. We're having to, you know, get the drivability to my liking on my car, and of course that's individual across everybody, so it's going to take some time, and then you throw obviously other circuits with hybrid changes and tyre changes in. There's a lot going on, so you know, I think we're doing a good job. We're quite steady and just chipping away. We want to be here for sort of, you know, for the long haul in the season, not just quick showings and then struggle. So we're building on a solid foundation, but it's been a bit slow to get moving to start with.
And finally, you mentioned, you know, the high-speed stability, which is so important around here, and the slightly narrower or shorter wheelbase giving you high-speed instability. But of course, you still want good rotation and direction change for the slow corners as well, which is what makes Thruxton so unique in setup.
Yeah, it is. It's a real challenge because it's a sort of a circuit of two halves, if you like, with a really technical section where you need the car to change direction, really good on its toes, and then at the back you want it to calm right down, be really, really safe. But yeah, it's a real challenge for the engineers, it's a challenge for the drivers, but again, that's why we love coming to this place, because it's so unique. But it is really, really great fun to drive.
So another setup change for quali and send it, eh?
Yeah, we're just trying to nudge it in the right direction rather than throw something completely random at it and hope that it sticks. But yeah, with the 3 sessions in qualifying as well, it's not like you can just do a banzai lap and hang on to it now. It's we need a good base beneath us that I can do 3 solid laps.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. We're now finished with you. He was asking us earlier on, how will he know when we finish?
Now.
We're finished. Thank you. There's an interesting point that Josh makes there about that different approach that everybody has to bring into qualifying now with the 3 sessions.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Thruxton is the place where you test the least. You only come here now once a year. We have had 2 races a year in the past. So it's the circuit where they have the least experience. And when you have new tyres or good tyres, you've literally only got a 2-lap window where they're at their best. And that's when you're trying to baseline the car and really feel what the car does. So it's actually a very short amount of time why it ends up with so much experimentation on setup.
Yeah, there's a man through here, hence I am listening to you. I'm just trying to attract. Actually, let's go through to him. Because when we're talking about qualifying, a man I wanted to grab a word with who actually has had some really fantastic qualifying results in the top 3 in our last 2 qualifying sessions. Here he is, the man himself. Nice to see you. We're just talking about your qualifying performances at the last couple of rounds. It's been good, top 3 both times. It's been great, hasn't it?
It's nice. As Tim pointed out at Snetterton, it's quite unusual for me to be at the front.
Harsh.
I noticed it. I didn't notice it. But no, it's always nice coming into hybrid. I've got the full use of the hybrid, so I do have a small advantage. But you've got to go out there and you've still got to perform every time you go out. And Snetterton was a tricky weekend, full stop. And Q3 at Snet, we're on slicks on a damp track, and it was hard work, but we'll take P3.
Cut forward to this circuit. I was lucky enough to have a ride around this circuit a couple of years back. It's scary. It's proper scary. I mean, I know I was only in the passenger seat, but does it, should we say, get your attention? I'm not going to suggest it scares you, but it gets everybody's attention, doesn't it, out the back there?
It wakes you up, that's for sure. It's one of these tracks where before I get in the car every time, I'll go and do 20, 25, 30 star jumps just to get this pumping and alive and adrenaline going, because you need to be on it. The car is never still. It's always sliding around, and these are 5th gear, 6th gear corners. You clip in the curbs at church, and if you get it slightly wrong, you're on a knife edge. So, I mean, it's amazing fun, don't get me wrong, but it takes your breath away sometimes.
Depends on your idea of fun, I think. Tim.
Yeah, no, I think all drivers have a bit of a love and a hate relationship.
Yeah.
We love the excitement of it, but it does get you up on your toes. But it's always been a good circuit for you. Wins here in 21, 22 in the BMW. Yeah. But traditionally, this has always been a front-wheel drive circuit. But in recent years, it's very much been equal. Why do you think that is?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I know what WSR have done over the winter just gone. We have made a pretty big step forward to catch up to front-wheel drive cars, and I'd have said to my engineer then, that car I've just driven then was probably the best I've ever felt it around Thruxton. So I'm feeling pretty confident going into qualifying. You've looked at the times, the front-wheel drives, they are up there. I've also seen who's in my qualifying one, so it's not going to be easy. But strengths and weaknesses in qualifying is tricky, so we have to just maximise what we can as a rear-wheel drive car and make the most out of it against the front-wheel drives.
You mentioned hybrid. Sorry, Lewis, you can just answer this one. Where around here are you using the hybrid mostly?
For me, it's coming out the complex, so you get 2 or 3 seconds there before Noble. Goodwood to Church, because it's such a high-speed exit out of there, the advantage isn't as great. But that long run up from Church all the way up to the chicane, you can get a good 7-8 seconds out of there, and it really does. You're approaching that chicane with momentum.
Is turn 1 flat now in quali?
I wish. Maybe for Jake.
Ash Sutton said it was. I don't know.
That's the front-wheel drive advantage. There we go. But no, not quite for me.
Well, listen, good luck out there. Fingers crossed, another top 3 on the card, so we'll see you out there.
Good luck, Adam.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Back to you, David.
Thanks, Louise. So we are just moments away from getting qualifying underway. Again, of course, we take the entry from their order at the end of FP2, put them into 2 groups. And this then is how they are going to be, with Group 1 being Tom Ingram, Ash Sutton, Adam Morgan, Andrew Watson, then Dan Camish, Rob Huff, Josh Cook, Ronan Pearson, Chris Smiley and Scott Sumpton. And the numbers you can see their position in FP2. Second group, Dan Rowbottom, who's taken a pole here in the past, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Jake Hill, Mikey Doble, Tom Chilton, Colin Turkington, Aidan Moffat, Sam Osborne, Darryl DeLeon and Nick Halstead. Those that are very on the ball will notice that the name of Bobby Thompson has not been read out, and that sadly is because Bobby is not racing this weekend because there's been yet more budgetary dramas for him. Really, really disappointing news. Green flag wave then to get the cars out on track. And Ronan Pearson's Hyundai has started its path down the pit lane and then ground to a halt, so there may well be a problem. And as we have made the point all year, you don't have a lot of time in this, just 10 minutes.
No, it's a short session. 3 times they have to do a good lap, and bearing in mind the window on there's Pearson's car being pulled back into the pits. Or into his box anyway.
It went and stopped, and they need to do something to it, yeah.
But yeah, they have to do a good lap 3 times, which with your tyres around here means you're really using up a lot of tyres to do it.
Right, so Ronan Pearson's car back to the team. We'll try and trace what the problem is. There is the very familiar side of the chicane, which is the last part of the lap, the club chicane at the end of Woodham Hill, which is quite a climb. And there is Ash Sutton. Now, of course, in terms of the hybrid allocation, he will have just 1 second a lap for qualifying. Colin Turkington will have 3, and then Tom Ingram 5, Jake Hill on 7 seconds a lap, Josh Cook 9, Dan Camish 11, Aidan Moffat 13, and everybody else gets 15. So the hybrid around here is going to be quite a big thing. So down they come towards the chicane, and on board with Adam Morgan's BMW up towards the timing line and onto a flying lap. So as ever, front wheel drive cars will have to think about pitting and a tyre cross, and the rear wheel drive cars can stay out. So Ash Sutton has popped back into the pit lane. So let's focus on Adam Morgan then, because he's got the track not exclusively to himself, but he's one of the few that stayed out, and he's making his way, Tim, up to the complex. Yeah, and a man very much in form and enjoying this year's BMW. The modifications they've made to it, as we heard him say in that interview post-free practice too, is really very much to his liking. Qualified in the top 3 last 2 meetings, and nothing to suggest he can't do it again here. He's been quick already, 4th in free practice 1. He was very much on the pace already. Indeed, yeah, he's going well this year. It's certainly in qualifying pace is Adam Morgan, as Ash Sutton heads off down the pit lane, and Dan Camish is about to join him as well. At the end of the next lap for Adam Morgan, we'll start to get times offered up. Adam has managed to get into Q2 at Brands Hatch and Snetterton, and Q3 at Brands Hatch and Snetterton. Didn't have a great Donington, but he's been a pretty regular right the way through into Q3. Right, Tom Ingram there, who was fastest in FP2, and having stood out at church and watched FP2 earlier on, boy is he brave through there. He doesn't just take the curb on the inside, he takes a bit of the grass as well. Now admittedly, it then takes until the exit of Brooklands to get the car all settled and sorted, but it is Ingram mastering. Well, this is one of those circuits where drivers really do make a difference, and especially the brave with great car control in the fast corners, and Tom is amongst the very best. He comes down the pit lane then for Team Bristol Street Motors, and it's the company's centenary, hence the number 100 being carried on the car. There is Adam Morgan, who did a 1:28.3. Now, in terms of a time, we want to be in the 15, so that was a start-up lap, if you like. Yeah, I really think there's a possibility the qualifying record could be broken this weekend. I mean, the track was very quick this morning in free practice. It's got a little bit warmer, the ambient's gone up and the track temperature's gone up, which may hurt lap times, but they were only a 10th away from Dan Camish's qualifying record of a 15.2 this morning, so we'll see what they can deliver at lap times. This is the first real flyer from Adam Morgan. He's been using the curbs a lot. 5th gear through the church corner. They can run out onto that painted curb, but not the green tarmac, the green concrete on the way out. That's a track limits infringement. And he's used all his hybrid for the lap. He was on the hybrid coming out of church, so this is on pure pace. And late braking into the chicane, where you go right, you go left, you go right, a little bit of curve used. There's tyre stacks there on the exit to catch you out and up towards the line. So Adam Morgan's first salvo of the session is a 17.3. There should be more to come.
There'll be a lot more to come there, probably a couple of seconds, unless the track's got massively slower.
But it is much warmer than it was this morning.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 2 seconds though, but
No,
that's a lot. But his eyes are pretty wide open there, as are all the drivers right out wide. Thank goodness for Andrew Watson, the grass was nice and dry there. Otherwise, he'd have been a goner. But yeah, enough grip on the grass. But he's got a radiator full of grass. He'll have to come in and get that cleaned off. That was his first flying lap.
And that lap is a goner, even if he isn't. So here it is again, all that speed into Allard, rides the curb, and that unsettles the car.
Yeah, it just didn't rotate enough, didn't turn enough. He was expecting more rotation on it, and he would have known very early on in the corner he was going off.
And all that was happening ahead of Josh Cook, who must have had a little hesitation, thinking, which way are you going to go, Andrew?
Oh no, you don't hesitate. You just assume you're going through if you're on a quali lap.
Well, let's
but I know
see.
what you mean.
Let's
it certainly would have dented his enthusiasm.
Yeah,
but I bet he
bloke.
didn't lift on account of that.
Let's
Just
have a
got
look.
Sutton across the line to start a lap.
And Adam Morgan's 17.3 is pretty much the only time we've got. There's Dan Camish onto a flying lap now. And again, as is the regular format, it's at the 4-minute mark or thereabouts that the times start to come, because by that stage people have done the tyre cross, things are up to temperature, and then they can start to push. So 10 minutes isn't very long anyway, but in real terms it's 4 minutes they've got.
Yeah, it basically gives them one shot at it, and bearing in mind these tyres are really only at their peak for one lap. The pressure to deliver on this one lap is absolutely huge. Even if you do a cool down lap and go again, you're still not going to get to near the peak of the tyre. You can see how on the limit Camish is. He's got the fastest first sector of anybody.
Yeah. And he's on the hybrid now, look, coming up towards Church. You turn right, coming from Goodwood through Village, then Church. Just turn right and right and right, speed building at this point, ride the curb on the inside. It is Adam Morgan ahead of Rob Huff, but the times are still quite a long way away from what we had earlier. Look down from the drone, great shot that coming up towards the chicane. And Dan Camish then aiming for something in the 15s if he can do it. A 17.3 is currently the fastest, and he's going to head for the pit lane. That's Ash Sutton, that's Ash Sutton. But even Ash had done an absolute best in the middle sector. This is Camish. So one Ford pits, the other Ford for the line, and Dan Camish will go fastest. He does indeed, and that is a 16.3.
Well, I wonder why Sutton came in the pits. He did the fastest middle sector, but came in the pits.
Yeah, and a personal best in the first.
And there's only 2.5 minutes left.
Right, so he's going to have to be on his toes here to get an out lap in, never mind a flying lap. Whatever they've done, they've got the car back into the fast lane of the pits, so Ash Sutton's about to rejoin.
That was a very strange decision, but he's got to get round fairly quickly to start a lap. But must have been something loose in the car or just something that he had a problem with that needed sorting. But it was a very quick fix.
Well, it's one for Louise to investigate, as Ronan Pearson, incidentally, has not gone out at all. Remember, we saw the car hesitate, so Ronan Pearson is not going to even do a Q1 time, seemingly, as you look there at Tom Ingram. So it's Camish, Ingram, Cook, Morgan, Huff, Sumpton, Smiley, Sutton, and no lap time as yet from Andrew Watson after his grassy moment at Allard.
No, but he again has time to get out. So look at that huge slide. Oh, this is what we love about Thruxton, seeing cars right on the limit. If you've joined us for qualifying, this is a great time to see the cars. This is when the drivers are absolutely at the limit of them and the tyres. There's no saving the cars for a race. This is absolutely flat out. Watson back out with the grass cleaned out of the radiator.
And Rob Huff was the one that was having that big slide. So Andrew Watson again with a wheel up the curb. Rob Huff's just gone across the timing line, and the lap that he does because of that slide kept in fifth. He was down in the final sector.
So you want the car set up as loose as possible. In other words, as oversteery as you can hang on to through the fast corners, so that you retain good direction change and traction through here, the slower part of the track. But that was on the absolute limit for Rob Huff.
Right now, we're going to lose Ronan Pearson, who's not been out, Andrew Watson, Ash Sutton, and Scott Sumpton with 44 seconds to go. But Sutton is onto a flying lap now, and this has got to get him into the top six.
This will be his only lap, so it'll be a good one to watch. He's absolutely on it. We'll get the first sector time as he comes out of the complex. Let's see where that puts him.
And remember, 1 second per lap only of hybrid allocation, so he's really up against it here. He's heading up towards the exit of the first sector then, and it is a personal best of 25.9, and that's a 10th down on the absolute best.
So not bad in the first sector. He's giving a very good tow. I think that's Cookie behind him. He's getting a great follow on from Sutton.
And he's used the hybrid, so hybrid unavailable for the rest of the lap. This has now got to be just on Ash Sutton's benefit, pure pace really. Checkered flag is out. It's Camish from Ingram, from Cook, and Sutton is at the moment the 9th of the 9 that have done a time, and he's down, look, in the middle sector, slightly down.
But look at the tow that he's giving Cookie. Cookie's getting a brilliant tow. Cookie's already in at the moment in P3. This is going to be a quicker lap.
Even though sectors 1 and 2 are down though, so Josh Cook has benefited now, but it might be a really good last sector to propel him. Now where does Sutton end up? This is the real question, because 9th is nowhere near good enough. He breaks the beam and he goes 5th, he's in. But Watson 6th means that Huff is out. Rob Huff is only 7th, Smiley 8th, and Sumpton 9th, Pearson no time. Now Rob Huff has taken the flag, so he can't do anything else. So Huff has gone, Smiley has gone, Sumpton has gone, and Pearson has gone.
Well, there was a flash of the lights from Cookie at Sutton after they crossed the line to say thanks for the tow, but in actual fact it was a 10th off Cookie's best lap of the session so far, but it certainly was a good tow. But well, Ash Sutton just manages to deliver, as we know the champion that he is can do. But that was an anxious moment for the Napa Racing Alliance Racing UK team, worrying about their man getting through. But he is, and it's, as you say, Huff, Smiley, Sumpton and Pearson that do not make it.
Absolutely, and Dan Camish the fastest then by 0.168 of a second. There is Rob Huff. How quickly things can change in the BTCC from a race win last time out to not progressing out of Q1 this time.
Yeah, and from the look of the times, we're probably not going to break that lap record. The heat has got up, the temperature's got up, and they're about a second away now. So unless something miraculous happens, it'd be difficult to see a second extra coming in pace.
So Ash Sutton at least has been into Q2 at every round, but that was a bit close. Dan Camish then the fastest from Tom Ingram and Josh Cook. 4th Adam Morgan ahead of Ash Sutton, and then Andrew Watson 6th, forcing out Rob Huff, Chris Smiley, Scott Sumpton and Ronan Pearson never left the pit lane. So dramas for the man that had a win in the reverse race at Brands Hatch. Rob Huff's car there going through the technical checks at the end of the session. And as the Toyota will head to the team, it will be a rather frustrated Rob Huff. The last time he was here, he had 3 wins. That was in the Ginetta Super Cup. He dropped in as a guest way back in 2010. But tomorrow is already looking like it's going to be a tough day. Now, Group 2 are ready to go. As soon as the last cars are in, then the instruction can be given from race control that we can get the second group on track and underway.
He won't get out, mate.
And there, Dan Camish ready to go from the technical check. That's Aidan Moffat, who is being brought into the pit lane. Dan Rowbottom, Sam Osborne at the front for Napa Racing. So the green flag is shown then, and we are in business for the second group. So down the pit lane they go then, green flag wave. We know it's going to take a minute or two to get everything relevant for the times to come. That's Aidan Moffat, winner at Donington back at the start of the season, who makes his way down the pit road now. So Rowbottom, Osborne, Turkington, Hill, Chilton, Halstead, Taylor Smith, Doble, Moffat, the 9 that have left the pit lane thus far. And let us see, Darryl De Leon now makes his way down the pit road as well. Right, let's find out about Ash Sutton's dramas. Louise is down there.
Yeah, he's back in the garage, and I'm imagining, is there a little element of relief? That was quite close, wasn't it?
A little bit of misjudgment from my front, if I'm honest. I'm sat here referencing myself to the time that we did in FP2, so I was chasing that. And realistically, the track's gone slower, so I thought we had a bit of an issue with the car. Turns out we didn't. Just overall, the grip level has changed from FP2 and the lap time slower. So I should have finished the first lap, if I'm honest. Gamble come in and we only just scraped through. So I put myself and everyone else under a load of pressure. So yeah, reset and go again.
And coming in, that was for a change of front tyres, I understand.
Yeah, just a set of fronts. I felt like we had a bit of a problem. I felt like I used the best out of the front tyres previously. So I thought to give myself the best shot, we'll put another set of fronts on, but ultimately it wasn't any of that.
How difficult and how quick are you making that decision to come in? Because we were all thinking he's on a quick one. He said, oh, hang on a minute, he's coming in.
Well, that's it. I know there was a comms issue between me and Tony. He said you need to finish this lap. I thought come in. So, yeah, little bit of comms issue there. Look, we'll reset, we'll go again, and we'll dig out a lap time.
Tony was right. See you later.
We understand Ronan Pearson had a throttle issue. That's why he never went out. So a throttle issue, that all-encompassing word issue that has become part of modern motor racing parlance. But anyway, something to do with the throttle. Pearson from going out.
The throttles on these cars isn't a simple cable attached to the throttle pedal. It's all via an electronic potentiometer. So it basically means an electronic glitch affecting the throttle. Yeah.
Colin Turkington we are looking at as Dan Rowbottom and Sam Osborne's Napa Racing Fords have pitted for a tyre cross and will make their way now back out on track. At the moment it is Jake Hill who is setting the notional best time because nobody else has got to the sectors on a proper push lap, but you can see even he is not really going for it because he's still trying to get warmth into the Goodyear rubber.
Yeah, I do wonder whether we're going to have a one standout driver this weekend. You know, at the first weekend at Donington it was very much Tom Ingram. At the second week at Brands it was Colin Turkington, and the third week it was Jake Hill. So I wonder if we're going to have a standout driver this weekend.
So over the timing line goes Jake Hill. Just a reminder also that we are on just one compound of tyre for the weekend here from the 3 different ones, plus the wet to factor in at Snetterton. Just the hard compound tyre at this fast and abrasive track. Aidan Moffat gets out of the way of a charging BMW there, heading up towards the complex, and Jake Hill has found himself a little bit more traffic because there's another car just up the road. He's done a 1:24.2 as his start-up lap.
These cars, they do take the curbs very well indeed. Remember, these are pretty big, heavy tyres with cars with wide tyres, and I'm amazed how much curb they can take at the complex and the chicane, and very, without upsetting the car. The lighter cars back in the day used to bounce up high over the curbs, but these cars float over them beautifully.
So Jake Hill then accelerating his way towards the chicane. This is what he did at the complex, a bit of a lock-up and riding the curb. He got away with that.
See how well it goes over that curb? It just floats over it, which shortens the line considerably.
So Jake Hill on the hybrid, he's now used it for the lap. He comes up towards the chicane, look down from the drone, you'll see him getting into the braking zone, and Jake Hill then comes right, left, right, out of the chicane up towards the timing line in a moment. We're nudging towards the halfway point of Q1 Group 2, and up towards the line then goes Jake Hill, and his lap is a 1:16.303.
Which is, I think, a tenth off what Camish did in the first one. So a competitive lap time there, even though we know he had that lock-up going into the chicane, to the complex.
Right, so now, look, with 5 minutes on the clock, it starts to get really competitive. Dan Rowbottom, with the maximum 15 seconds of hybrid a lap at his disposal, is on it. 2 purples, 2 absolute bests. Rowbottom has had a win here in the past. He's had a pole position here in the past, so he's really hopeful this weekend of a better run of luck.
Well, he's got a very good chance, as you say, with the full allocation of hybrid and being quick round here. The car was teetering on the edge through Church, but fastest first and second sector must put him on target for the quickest lap so far if he completes his final section, and he comes up towards the line using every bit of the road and a bit more. Comes up to the line, and indeed he is, a 16.0. That's 2 tenths quicker than Camish went in the Group 1.
Wasn't an absolute best in the last sector because of that little bit of zealotry out of the chicane, but Dan Rowbottom is the fastest. 4 minutes and change are on the clock, and remember at this point it's being in that top 6 and progressing.
Yeah, and that will be enough, I think, to keep him in that top 6, even though he's carrying on.
Okay.
Zealotry, is that over-anxious use of the throttle?
Over-ambitious use.
Over-ambitious.
Getting overexcited.
Yeah,
Yes.
zealotry.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a triple word score, that, you know. Yeah. Down to the chicane comes Aidan Moffat, who rides the curve on the way in, avoids the tyre stacks and blasts his way now up towards the line. And this will be the first flying lap that Aidan has done in qualifying. And as he goes through, that puts him 8th. Now, bear in mind that Aidan has not yet got into Q2 this season.
Okay, well, we know, in spite of being a race winner.
Indeed, yes. So he'll be desperately hoping for a better run of qualifying. I did ask him at Snetterton whether he likes the new format. He said, don't know, not taking part in much of it really. Only done 10 minutes each weekend.
Good point, actually.
So, okay, jury's out as far as Aidan Moffat is concerned. Let's see what he can do here. With only 3 minutes on the clock, there is Nick Halstead, who goes through behind, and he's 7th at the moment. In terms of time, he's quicker than Moffat. But Dan Rowbottom then, Jake Hill, Mikey Doble, who comes here as the Jack Sears Trophy Championship leader, Aaron Taylor-Smith, his teammate, Colin Turkington and Sam Osborne, so far, are the 6 that go through with 3 minutes to spare.
One advantage of not going through is you do save a lot of tyres. You know, you're not using tyres in 2 of the 3 sessions, if you like. So that could be an advantage, actually, for those tomorrow.
I don't think frugality is an excuse, though, is it? So no doubt Bob Moffat, Aidan's dad, might side with you on that, but certainly it makes life hard in race 1, doesn't it, from near the back of the grid? But it's a good point. Tom Chilton goes through, goes second. That was a good lap. 2 tenths down on Rowbottom.
Yeah, indeed, a good lap. Another man that's always been quick round Thruxton and certainly enjoys the challenge.
Moffat's improved, but only as far as 7th. Right now, those that miss out, Moffat, Osborne, Halstead and De Leon. Turkington is the one in jeopardy. He's 6th.
Well, there's 2 minutes 16 to go.
Oh,
big
drama.
crash.
Aaron Taylor-Smith on the back part of the circuit. And that was a big old hit, and he's going to try and get the car moving, but he's done the rear suspension. Look, you can see on that left rear corner how the suspension is all broken. He's got it moving. Fair play, because that was a big, scary moment and a scary part of the circuit. But in a moment, that car is liable to get away from him again. And look at that. Big, big lose. Around it bounces.
That's
and wait for the impact.
Oh,
bang.
That's the left-hander at Noble. And remember, the right rear tyre on these cars is the coldest tyre. I know it's a warm day, but he's crabbing that car back to the pits. In actual fact, he should really just pull off.
Yeah, because that's in everyone's way, isn't it?
It's in everyone's way, but he knows he's in the top 4 and he's probably hoping they can fix it and get him out for the next session if he still makes it.
I didn't know we were watching drifting, but that's what's happening, and he's off again because the car just does not want to go where Aaron is pointing it. Ian Watson, as the clerk of the course, will be looking at this, thinking, what do we do now? The yellow, this is ruining anybody's efforts now to do a time, because there are yellow flags effectively on this whole sector of the circuit with just over a minute to go, and he's still limping it back. He's doing his best to keep it out of the way. People are able to get past him. It's a little bit safer now, but getting this through the chicane will be a headache.
Well, he had a really nice slide going on, didn't he? That looked like a rallycross car, but when he lifted off the throttle, the rear steering turned him off the track. So he needs to slow down gently for the final chicane, but he could block somebody.
That's the problem, isn't it? And you have to say, that given the speed with which he went off, to just hook first gear and battle on, it's quite a recovery, that. So, big frustration for those that were on a push-up. You can see the witness marks on the road there, just evidence of what a big drama it was for him. So Moffat needs to get in. This might well be his last lap, and he's down in the first sector. Now let's ride with him as he comes up towards Church, because potentially he might come across that crippled and wounded Vauxhall Astra coming towards the chicane. The road is clear up the road. He's got Jake Hill behind him. Moffat is on the hybrid. He's used it for this lap. He's going to take the checkered flag this time with 7, 6, 5 seconds on the clock. The road is clear ahead of him. This to see if Aidan Moffat can get into Q2 for the first time this season. Up towards the line he comes. He's going to take the checkered flag. Is it for 6? The answer, as he breaks the beam, is no. He still hasn't done it yet again. Sadly, Aidan Moffat does not progress from Q1.
He'll be cross about that, and joining him out of the top 6 are Sam Osborne, Darryl De Leon and Nick Halstead.
So
Turkington just scraped through, didn't he?
And the fastest remains Dan Rowbottom. As you look at Sam Osborne, he's yet to take the checkered flag, but Sam is down in both sectors 1 and 2, so I'm not expecting him to go quicker here. Turkington was 4 tenths up on Moffat, so in that respect he was safe, but 6th, well, he'd still like to be higher up the order. Osborne comes over the line, goes through, and Sam Osborne stays 8th and therefore misses the cut. But the real story of all that, Aaron Taylor-Smith, I mean, well, he got the car back, so that was a result, but the team, I suspect, won't be able to get the car out for Q2. Let's just look at the order then. Out of the second group, Dan Rowbottom, the fastest, from Tom Chilton, then Jake Hill, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Mikey Doble and Colin Turkington. They, with differing levels of damage and drama, go through, possibly in the case of Aaron Taylor-Smith, with Aidan Moffat, Sam Osborne, Daryl De Leon and Nick Halstead missing out.
And that's a shame for the Evans Halshaw Powermax racing team, because both Aaron Taylor-Smith and Mikey Doble were through into the next session. The team are working on it. Look, blessed they are working on it. They would have seen from the TV, if they were watching, what the damage was. They'd have run to the truck to get some rear toe links and some suspension parts, but without setting the car up on a flat patch, it's going to be very difficult to get that car into any shape of, even if it runs, competitiveness.
But the worst he can be is 12th now.
Yes.
So at least he's somewhere up the order, and Louise is going to be able to have a word, I hope, with Aaron Taylor-Smith. It was quite a scary ride, that, for him, Lou.
Yeah, just playing it very carefully here, because as you say, there's a lot of work going on the car. Aaron, that must have been an extremely nerve-wracking moment.
It wasn't ideal, I would say that. But yeah, bit of a mistake, just came through a little too quick. Obviously hit the barrier, but I think if any crew could get this car back out, it'll be these guys and girls. So fingers crossed.
Team working hard here. What do you think? Are you hopeful you can get out again?
100%. We're getting back out and we're going to go for Q3. 100%.
Good luck.
So I would love to know what in the world ever phases Aaron Taylor-Smith.
Yes.
That, which to you and I looks terrifying, and the drive back to the pit lane, it's just not ideal. You know, he's the absolute perfect person to be with in a crisis, because he'd certainly calm you down.
He definitely does, doesn't he? I mean, I've been off there when the car goes off to the left. It's a frightening experience.
You've been off.
I know, it happens to the best. It happens
well,
to the
clearly.
best. But there is some barrier repair to be done, so that could give them a bit more time actually to fix the car.
Yeah. Yeah, well done, Aaron. You bought yourself some time. And then this was how he dragged it back. And having become the unofficial drift king, then, as you say, had this big drama coming out of church.
Yeah, this is as he's learning to drive his three-wheeled Vauxhall. But yeah, there's some work to be done there, and it does need to be made good before they can run again. Pat Blakeney, their operations director here at Thruxton, overseeing the work. But that'll give Powermax team a little bit of extra time to get it fixed. But I still don't see any way they can get that car set up anything like competitively, even if it does run. Let's hear from Ronan Pearson. He's with Louise.
Ronan, I was going to say a frustrating session, but a frustrating non-session for you. Throttle issue, I understand.
Yeah, do you know if there's any nice golf clubs around here I could go and swing some bats at? Yeah, I've beyond words, to be honest. Yet again, our weekend starts really on the back foot through no fault of my own, which is, yeah, not, again, like I said, I've not got many words and shouldn't say too much just now either, because I'm emotional, and, you know, we put so much in to be here, to not even turn a lap in qualifying. And then you look at what lap times you did in free practice 2 and where that would have put you even in likes in part 2 in qualifying. You know, we start plumb last tomorrow, and that shouldn't have been the case. So, yeah, really disappointed.
So I guess just trying to find a bright side for you. I mean, weekends can turn around. We've seen that in the past. That's what you're going to need, isn't it?
Yeah, without doubt. I think the only luck we have had this year is the fact that it turned around for us at Brands Hatch. You know, if we hadn't have had that result, you know, it'd been absolutely soul destroying to this point, to be quite frank. Yeah, firmly focused on tomorrow, making up plenty of places as we go. Yeah, we're going to have to get dicey, and you know, this circuit's so hard to overtake once everyone settles in as well. So yeah, we're firmly on the back foot, like I said, and we just have to motor on and see what we can do.
Bad luck.
So a very frustrated Ronan Pearson, being careful what he says. Now then, we get ready for Q2, which, remember, is the top 6 out of the 2 groups. Now the road gets busier. From 10 cars, we get up to 12.
Yeah, well, drivers are very emotional, especially when you've had your heart rate off the clock driving around here in a qualified mode. Now, I know Ronan didn't get out. I think he was 13th and 15th in the 2 free practices, but of course the track has got a lot slower since then, so he wouldn't have necessarily repeated that time. But you get out of the car and you're frustrated. I thought he was going to do an Aidan Moffat and throw the team under the bus there. That was before Aidan won a race, of course. Then after that, the team were wonderful. But this is drivers for you.
Well, it'll be well worth watching him up from 20th in race 1. I mean, that's from our side of things the positive, because we know he's quick, and if the car's prepared to play ball, then it'll be worth watching. Aaron Taylor-Smith's car then is on the pit apron. It doesn't have to be ready, of course, for the green flag, as long as he can get out there and do a lap. And all of this is helping, of course, to buy time. But the car is there, it's on the apron, it has been presented for qualifying.
Yeah, but this is also where you have to be a little bit sensible, because there's no point in him flying into a lap at full chat, bearing in mind the car has not been on a setup patch, because he could end up doing more damage again. So he needs to do an exploratory, a banker lap, just to feel the car first before he gives it the full send. That's not in his nature, though, is it?
I'm glad you finished that sentence, not me. This is the incident again. Big lose, onto the grass, spits him around. I mean, this is terrifying enough. Then there's the impact, so wait for it. Bang, bang again as the front goes in, and it spins and it spins and it spins. And then he just hooks first gear, and off he goes.
Yeah.
Let's rejoin Louise down in the pit lane.
Yeah, down in the pit lane with, I would imagine, a frustrated Rob Huff. I mean, the joys of touring cars. One weekend you're winning, next weekend.
Yeah, it happens. We just had an absolute bucket load of oversteer. Need to check the car over, because it's as if something's broken on the car or something, but the drivability of the car, and we changed almost nothing. If anything, we've made it more calm from this morning, free practice too. But just huge oversteer. No matter where I turned, left or right, the steering wheel and the car were going in opposite directions, so it was quite good fun.
Well, it was a big moment that you had out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had a couple of big moments, which was not particularly enjoyable, but just trying to keep it under control was not easy, and it was just biting me in all the wrong places. So kind of kept backing off, but even the lap I did, we had a big moment on, and just had to push through to get a lap time in, and then obviously never got another one, so very frustrating.
A couple of drivers have been saying to me, the car's very different this afternoon. Do you think it's something to do with the circuit, the way it's developing or not developing? Or?
I mean, experience would say it's either to do with the tyre compound of cars that have been running before us. Track temperature's obviously shot up a lot because the sun's come out for the last couple of hours, or a problem with the car. So let's see.
Cheers, Rob. See you out tomorrow.
And we'll add Rob to that list of drivers pushing their way through from the back of the grid. It's going to be, as ever, an interesting first race. We've had quite a lot this year where you've got, because of the qualifying format, quick people at the back. So there you go. You've got Pearson, you've got Huff, you've got Moffat. Yeah. The list grows.
But I think when Rob realises that the lap times people are doing, he'll realise it is the track and the conditions. He may still have some work to do on the car. And that certainly was a big old slide through Church Corner. You wouldn't want to have that for your race setup. So they'll be doing some changes, I'm sure, before tomorrow. Notice how gently the drivers go out on their out lap, warming the tyres. They don't run over the curbs. They don't want to put any sort of potential failure points in the sidewall for the race, because they will race on these tyres tomorrow. On board, looking at Tom Ingram. Now that bird needs to fly away. He's right. Oh no, go the other way, mate. Go the other way. Go the other way. Go the other way.
His mates come to join him and help him across the road.
Yeah, he's come to. He's got the message.
Now, in the meantime, Tom Ingram, having avoided any aviary concerns, is up at the complex, and already we are down to just over 7.5 minutes. I know we keep saying that time flies, as do the pigeons, but suddenly realised just how long an outlap can take.
And you saw from that onboard a little bit of flapping on the bonnet, because there's been a directive from Alan Gow to all the teams that any loose bodywork, and they will be black and orange flagged. We saw it particularly at Snetterton with the Toyotas getting flagged for loose bodywork, and since that the Hyundai have put an extra bonnet pin in the middle of the front of the bonnet, because that was flapping, and there are an awful lot of self-tapping screws in the wheel arches of other cars as well.
Yeah, it was interesting watching Adam Morgan's bonnet again being stood trackside this morning, and that was in the middle flapping, but Colin Turkington in FP1, wasn't it, had a bonnet pin shear front on the left, and up it came, which must have been quite a scary moment. Right, Mikey Doble's going down the pit lane, Andrew Watson and Josh Cook go down the pit lane, and we are already at the 6 3/4 minute mark. Aaron Taylor-Smith's car is still being attended to, but as I say, the worst he can be is 12th.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad place to start. Save some tyres for tomorrow. The freshness of the tyres, not the cost of them, but the freshness of the tyres. But fair play to the team. That's great to see the effort they're putting in to get their man out.
Yes, Charlie Broughton, who's the lead mechanic on that car, said to me at lunchtime, yeah, we've had no problems, but let's not jinx it.
He jinxed it.
He jinxed it, or somebody did. But he got into Q2 at least, and as I say, 12th is the worst it can be. And there are still 6 minutes, so they might get one lap, and you never know. Somebody else has a drama. He could end up 11th. Right, Jake Hill is pushing then. So, with his confidence sky high after that mega weekend at Snetterton, this is Jake Hill, and he is really going for it.
Yeah, right on the limit there, coming through Noble. Now he turns into Goodwood. He'll use all the track on the exit, right out to the end, then bisect the middle of the road to shorten the distance down to Church. Dab on the brakes. See how little he dabbed the brakes there? 5th gear, back on the throttle, trying not to run wide on the exit and incur any track limits. I'm so pleased to say we haven't seen lap times deleted through track limits in this session. Hopefully I haven't spoken too soon as it gets ramped up to the final chicane, over the first curve, across the second, across the third, and let's see what time he can do.
Anything better than a 16.3 will be the fastest, and it's a 15.7, it's fastest. So Hill, Morgan and Turkington is the order of the 3 BMWs. Everybody else, of course, is a bit out of sequence, but Dan Rowbottom, absolute best in sector 1. That is Ash Sutton, who has done a personal best in the first sector, but Rowbottom could well be the man to watch on this lap. He's ahead of him on the lap. So there you've got Sutton making his way to the end of the second sector. And as the cars work their way up out of Church towards Brooklands, it's going to be, in fact, Ash Sutton's time that we'll have a look at first. Rowbottom in the sectors then, 2 absolute best there, you can see. And look, having talked about things flapping, look at Sutton's side window, because the perspex has popped out. Yeah, which is not good aerodynamically at this fast circuit, never mind the fact that they won't allow loose bodywork, so he'll have to get that fixed. The only good thing is it's on the opposite side from everybody in the pit lane to see it. Rowbottom goes through, goes fastest, a 1:15.388 then, and that was the perfect lap. Purple, purple, purple across the sectors. Through goes Dan Cam, and Camish goes up to 5th. We've yet to get a time out of Ingram, Chilton, Doble, Watson and Cook, and of course Taylor Smith is the one with this question mark. 4 minutes to go. And a little bit of cloud cover, and all of a sudden the lap times have got a lot quicker. It shows what a difference it makes. Bit of cloud cover, and they've now got the fastest lap of the weekend, barely a 1/10.5 away from the record. Taylor Smith on his way down the pit lane. Well done, Power Max Racing. The car may not look pretty, it may not be that straight, but he's going to see what it feels like, and knowing Aaron, if it ain't good enough, he'll bench it. Yeah, I think he's been just told to go out. Is he slowing down now? Yeah, I think he is. It still doesn't look right, that car, does it? No. And I don't think that's even going to venture out. So Aaron Taylor Smith. No, that left rear is not right, no. I don't think. No, it still doesn't look quite straight, does it? It still looks wrong. Anyway, he's going to see what a lap might feel like, but yeah, it's got more camber than anything else. Let's worry about those that are going quickly, though, because Tom Ingram is on the first flying lap. He was personal best, then absolute best. Look, green and purple. If you see purple, it's really good. Green is good, yellow bad. And down towards the chicane, all the hybrid already used, so there's nothing to squirt you out the other side of the chicane. Ingram's first flying lap will be completed with less than 3 minutes to go, and it's going to put Tom Ingram second fastest behind Rowbottom. Remember, it's the fastest 6 that go through from this 12 to the final run out. So 6th is Cook at the moment. He's the one on the bubble. This is Chilton, who's yet to do a lap time, and he goes through 4th, so that forces Cook out. Cook, Morgan, Doble, Turkington, Watson, Taylor Smith are those that will be out if things stay as they are. Yeah, and there is just time for another quick lap. On board with Cook, the man with the most wins and has that title he's never quite sure about, is it? King of Thruxton, but he's not so confident in his car this year. No, much of that reputation, not all of it, because I know he had a Vauxhall Astra win, but much of that reputation has been with the Honda Civic. Now he's in a completely new car to him. It will be fascinating to see how the throne stays. And he switched the lights off and slowed down, so this lap he's aborted. With just under 2 minutes to go, will there be another opportunity? We'll find out. Rowbottom, Ingram, Hill, Chilton, Camish, Sutton are the top 6. Now Cook is only 14 thousandths behind Sutton. And this is Taylor Smith, who's having a go. He is. Good on you, Aaron. Good on you. It may not be pretty, it may not be perfect, but it's going to see what it can do. Now Colin Turkington is only 11. This is where it gets really interesting to see whether, first of all, Colin can get in, and if he can, at whose expense. Up over the curve he comes then. If he can break into the top 6, it will get rid of Sutton, who, remember, has been the only driver in Q3 at every round thus far, every event, I should say, thus far. Turkington goes 10th. He improves, but not by much, and he's got one more lap, and I don't think it's that quick going out of Allard. Turkington, I think he's done.
He is, and I mean, he's only got 3 seconds of hybrid use, but nevertheless, this is not the start to his weekend. Certainly, it doesn't look like the same sort of weekend as he had at Snetterton.
And Josh Cook has pitted, and he won't get out again, so Cook's gone.
Turkington's gone.
Yeah, and Watson potentially is gone. 40 seconds to go.
Taylor Smith goes 12th, not surprisingly the slowest time, but it's the only lap he's done. He's on a second lap though.
But he's only a 10th down on Mikey Doble. With all the damage, he's only a 10th off his teammate. So he's not done yet. I reckon Taylor Smith might do better than 12th in the final reckoning. If he could get it up into the top 10, that would be quite a story, wouldn't it? And don't rule him out. As long as everything holds together for one more lap, Aaron Taylor Smith, I think, certainly deserves credit for being the bravest guy out there, with the Evans Halshaw Power Max Racing team deserving big credit for all of that hard work to get him on track. We've got the last few cars then coming through now. Ash Sutton's just escaped to do one more lap. The flag is out. This is Adam Morgan coming up Woodham Hill. Now Adam is 8th and has improved in both of the first 2 sectors. So Aaron Taylor Smith heading for the line. Adam Morgan might get into the top 6 if this is a really good lap, and if he does, it will get rid of Sutton. Up to the line comes Adam Morgan. Let's see whether it's going to be good enough. He breaks the beam. 7th, misses out just, and he misses out by 9 thousandths of a second. What about Taylor Smith for the top 10?
Well, here he comes. Remember, he didn't have the opportunity to cross his tyres over, so he had to go with it as it was. So this could be an improvement on the lap.
Let's see, he goes through, no, stays 12th, but it was worth a go, Aaron, and he deserves a lot of credit.
A gallant effort indeed by Aaron Taylor Smith and the team.
Right, there's nobody else looking as though they're going to dislodge Ash Sutton, because everybody behind him has pitted. So Adam Morgan there missing out by 9 thousandths, and Ash Sutton has done it. Again, he's got into Q3, the only driver to get into Q3 at every round. He's not yet had a pole, he's not yet had a win. But it's going to be a very frustrated Josh Cook. Let's hear from him and Lou.
Josh, we spoke earlier on about the fact that the car just wasn't quite where you wanted it to be. Did you manage to chip away and get a little bit more time out of it, or still not the car you want?
We made progress for sure. It's just, not quite quick enough. So, obviously a bit disappointing. I think it's the lowest I've qualified round here in a while. But we know where the car's strong, as we said before, and it's not necessarily the high-speed corners. So I'm happy we can race from there. I want to get 3 solid point scores, but it's still eyes firmly on the championship.
How tricky is it going to be or how much confidence do you have in the car? Because that's something you really need here at Thruxton.
Yeah, it's not a lack of confidence. It's just we're missing a little bit of balance, really, and I can't extract enough from the car to be able to find the lap time. And it's fine margins around here. And again, it's because it's so flowing at the back. If you miss a couple of kilometres an hour, it just all adds up in big time. So it's obviously a little bit disappointing, but from where we started the day, we've definitely made progress, and obviously got 3 races to think about tomorrow.
See you out there.
Cheers.
So let's have a look then at the drivers that go through. They are Dan Rowbottom, Tom Ingram, Jake Hill, Tom Chilton, Dan Camish and Ash Sutton. Those that drop out of qualifying: Adam Morgan, Josh Cook, Andrew Watson, Colin Turkington, Mikey Doble and Aaron Taylor Smith. Bit of a poor reward that for the Evans Halshaw Power Max Racing team, to lose one, but to lose both after all the effort, well, but it is so competitive, something has to give, and sadly it's the 2 Vauxhalls that drop out. Great shots from the drone looking down onto the old airfield circuit of Thruxton here.
But at the end of the day, in that session, Rowbottom was quickest over Ingram by 2 tenths, which is a big chunk. So you'd have to say at the moment, Rowbottom ought to be the favourite for pole.
So it means that Ash Sutton is into Q3 for the 4th time, Tom Chilton for the 1st, for the 3rd time Jake Hill and Dan Camish, and for the 2nd time Dan Rowbottom and Tom Ingram. So let us then, as we get set for Q3, go back to the pit lane, because Aaron Taylor Smith still has a lot of explaining to do. He can do it to Louise.
Well, you gave it your all.
Yeah, we tried. I made a mistake. Probably not good enough for me. So I do feel I feel disappointed for the team more than anything. We had a real package today that could have challenged. They did a remarkable job trying to get us back out for that. And I just didn't have it in me. There was probably just, as you would expect, like I stuck it in the wall. There's going to be hangover damage, totally my fault. So I'm just a bit disappointed for them. Like, I'll fight back tomorrow. It'll be okay. And if anything, we'll save a set of tyres from not being in Q3.
See you out there tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you very much.
He really is a breath of fresh air, isn't he, Aaron Taylor-Smith? I mean, he accepts it's his fault.
Yeah.
He's positive. He doesn't kick off about it. This was the incident, and it'll haunt him for a while, I suspect. This.
Yeah, there was a nasty point there where I thought he could go in head first, but fortunately it went all the way round and went in at least backwards first, even though the front went in. But there's no real damage to the front. But
no,
he did a bit of a Gilles Villeneuve there, whack it in gear and try it back.
But if anybody would have done that, you'd have expected it to be Aaron, because he has that sort of never say die, never give up mentality. But yeah, well, it was a good effort from him, a great effort from the team. But he will not progress, and we know the 6 that will. Dan Rowbottom, Tom Ingram, Jake Hill, Tom Chilton. Fair play to Tom Chilton. He's flown under the radar a bit in that session, but first time we've had him in Q3. As you have another look at the outside of Allard from the drone. Brilliant shots, these, and you can see the number of people that are here camping, even a pretty busy qualifying day, and glorious sunshine as well. Now, it's going to be a very frustrated Colin Turkington, no doubt. He has missed out on Q3. Louise, he's not going to be happy.
Well, no, I mean, the guys are just talking about the fact you're not going to be happy. This is not what a driver wants to be doing, standing here watching everybody go out for the final shootout.
Yeah, disappointing not to be through to Q3, but we've been struggling a bit all morning, I would say, you know, just struggling to get the car in the right place. And it's a little better for qualifying, but it's just on the edge. And the car will be sort of good in only a few corners, but then I'm really struggling in the rest, so it's difficult to piece the lap together. So whenever you're fighting against the car, you know you're not going quickly. So yeah, we've a bit more work to do this evening to try and make the car a bit more drivable. It's not nice when you're hanging on, especially around here. You need something that gives you the sort of confidence to commit. So hopefully we'll have a look tonight of maybe what we did in previous years and see if we can calm it down a bit.
I was going to say, do you know which way you need to take it? But if you're looking at what you've done previous years, maybe that answers my question. You're kind of a bit of head scratching going on.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because we're not trying to fix just one problem. You know, I'm suffering a bit of understeer and oversteer, so it's not so bad when you're just trying to cure one thing. It's an easier route to go, but when you're trying to like tame the whole car, it's difficult. But yeah, I'm sure we'll improve it for tomorrow and hopefully come back forward.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
So we're down to just one rear-wheel drive car, one BMW. It is that of Jake Hill, and in this glorious sunshine, late afternoon at Thruxton, out of the chicane come the front-wheel drive cars, but they go for the pit lane to cross the tyres.
Yes, so we've got 2 Accelerate Hyundais of Ingram and Chilton, 1 BMW of Jake Hill, and 3 Napa Racing Fords of Rowbottom, Sutton and Camish.
Jake Hill has just gone on to a flying lap, and also staying out Tom Ingram, interestingly. So they've gone through. Tom Chilton stays out, but Rowbottom and Sutton have pitted, and Dan Camish is on his way down the pit lane as well, I can see. Right, so let's focus on Jake Hill then, because of course he was on pole position at Snetterton, and he was quickest at the start of the day.
Yeah, and thoroughly enjoying his car, unlike his teammates who haven't quite found the sweet spot. The problem with for Colin Turkington is they can go back and look at the previous data, but this year's car is quite different, and just because a setup worked in the past doesn't mean it will work on this year's car with the improvements and changes they've made to it. So they've got some head scratching to do, but if anyone can do it, it will be Colin and the West Surrey Racing team. So front wheel drive cars have done a tyre swap, apart from Ingram, who stayed out. So unless Ingram's doing 2 laps to warm the tyres, he may be going to just go with the rears that were on it before, which was still warm, of course, from the last session, and a pair of new fronts.
Well, there's Ash Sutton, who is on track. You get to this qualifying session for round 10. What odds would you have got at the start of the year for getting to this point without Ash having had a pole and not having had a win?
Well, he's just missed the consistency. I mean, you'd have got great odds, wouldn't you? I do think that perhaps this weekend, where I mean, the hybrid doesn't make as much difference as the chassis setup and the driving of the car. With fact, with no option tyres this weekend to sort of upset the apple cart, he's probably got a better chance of winning this weekend than any weekend so far.
Possibly so. Let us see, because it was a bit of a scare in Q1. And he comes then now up towards the end of this lap, 6 minutes on the clock. Jake Hill's done a 27.6, so it's a notional time really, but he's pressing on a little bit more on this next lap. Dan Rowbottom is going to be a man to watch on this. The best that he's qualified all season is 6th, so at worst he can equal that, but the way that he went in Q2 and with his track record around here, you'd anticipate him to be up really at the front of the grid.
Definitely. I mean, he'd be my pick at the moment based on what I've seen so far.
So here he comes, out of the chicane, up towards the line, and Jake Hill's going to do another improved lap time. It's going to get busier because the pit lane is emptying. So you've got Hill, Rowbottom and Sutton and Camish on the track, and they're about to be joined by the 2 Hyundais.
The 2 Hyundais doing an extra warm-up lap. Unusual on a track like this where you get the tyres in very quickly on the front, but that's what they've chosen to do.
Right, Jake Hill goes through, and he's into the 15s now, a 1:15.668. That's the target now.
Yeah, but we've seen quicker. We saw a 15.3.
And then the next cars to cross the line are only at the moment coming towards Church, and in order they are Sutton, Rowbottom, Camish, then Ingram. And this was Jake Hill on his previous lap coming towards the chicane, and as he gets there, there's a big lock-up.
Yeah, and you know, with a BMW, that lock-up's from the right front. It's not from the right rear, which is the unweighted wheel on a front-wheel drive car. So that's quite serious when you lock up the right front that badly.
Well, let's see whether he comes in or stays out. Rowbottom, in the meantime, has done 2 purples. So Dan Rowbottom then heads up towards the line. He's had 3 career pole positions. He might be on for a 4th here as he rides the curb coming into the chicane. Because of the lollops its way back onto the ground, but Rowbottom drags it out the other side and has used, look, a little bit of hybrid for the end of the lap to bring him out of the chicane. Interestingly, we've not seen many people do that, but it does not work. Second only, missed out by 100th of a second, and this is what happened going through Church on that lap. Bit of a twitch and a big slide to boot.
Yeah, that lost him a lot of forward momentum, and he was also scrappy through the final chicane.
Yeah. So Camish has gone fastest.
Yeah, this lap doesn't look particularly good either. So Camish, and I can tell you, Camish was very upset after free practice. He really didn't think he had a car underneath him at all. And now he's quickest at the moment.
So 24 thousandths only between Camish and Hill, and then it's a 10th between Hill and Rowbottom. So up towards Noble comes the Napa Racing Ford. And there is Dan Camish then. Ingram has done an absolute best in the first sector now. And we've got 3.5 minutes still on the clock. There is Ingram.
He's
really
on
pushing.
his flyer now and has set an absolute best in sector 1.
So down towards Church in this rather cycloptic Hyundai. He comes through, and again the car just dances its way through. He takes a massive bite of curb, even a bit of the grass on the inside, and he's used all of the hybrids. So he's used that relatively early in the lap. Comes up towards the chicane, absolute best, personal best. Rowbottom has gone through and went no quicker. Ingram, for his first flying lap, throws the car into the chicane, rides the curve as much as he possibly can, skims the tyre stack up towards the line. He's in the top 6 anyway. Where in the top 6 is going to be confirmed as he goes through as quickest of all, a 15.3.
Wow, that was a sun lap. That was a fabulous lap by Tom Ingram. Bearing in mind that he's only got 5 seconds of hybrid use as against 15 at the most, but that was a brilliant lap.
It was, wasn't it? A real big whack over the curb there. Car crash landing back to earth. Right, we've got 2.5 minutes to go, and Jake Hill hasn't given up. He's really pushing coming out of the chicane. Personal best, slower middle sector, slower final sector, and slower lap. So 3rd he is, and he's backed out of it with 2 minutes on the clock. He has done. Rowbottom, I fear, has done because he is slower now in sectors 1 and 2. So it looks like most people have had their one proper shot.
Yeah, and remember, they just don't have an unlimited amount of tyres to keep throwing at it. So they're going to have to use these tyres tomorrow. Normally, you'd do the least number of laps in qualifying you could possibly do on the tyre. So it looks like Ingram is going to be the man.
By 0.265 of a second over Camish, and it is 7/10 covering the entire 6. So Ingram, Camish, Hill, Rowbottom, Sutton, Chilton, the order. And for Tom Ingram, it will be an 8th career pole, and he will be our first driver to take a 2nd pole of the season, if things stay as they are for another 90 seconds. Through he goes, slower lap.
Yeah, it's that first flying lap is the ideal, so there are some cars still circulating. I saw Camish and Sutton both going around again, but I don't fancy they're really on a flyer.
Although, having said that, suddenly there's a bit of cloud cover, so things get cooler, but I think we've had the best out of the tyres, and those that are still on track look like they're just on an in-lap.
Yeah, it does look that way.
Pretty much everybody is backed out of it. There is Tom Chilton. He is up to the end of the first sector. He did do a personal best in the last sector of the previous lap, but no, that's pretty much done.
And interestingly that he and Chilton were the only front-wheel cars that did 2 warm-up laps before they crossed the tyres. So whether that was to get Hill coming into the pits, a little flash of the lights at the crowd, but he'll be pretty happy with 3rd on the grid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wonder if that extra warm-up lap gave them the rear tyre temperature once they crossed them over to really push on their single flying lap.
Right, so Jake Hill goes through the technical checks, 3rd fastest. Dan Rowbottom goes through again. He's got another lap out of the session if the tyres are willing. So let's see as Jake Hill's car, as I say, goes through the technical checks. Right, Ash Sutton stays out as well. His last lap was no improvement.
No, very, very odd. Well, it looks like Rowbottom was pushing. I think they were clearing their tyres up and before pushing again, because they did a 21 for Rowbottom and a 27 for Sutton on the previous lap, so they were cool-down laps. This is the whoa, rallycross moment for Dan Rowbottom. He certainly was trying, wasn't he?
He was, and no surprise, not an improved lap time, but he's going to bring it to the pit lane. So Jake Hill goes through. Tom Ingram will get into the queue, but he's been told pole position is yours, and you can see off the facial expression that that means a lot to him. Tom Ingram quickest by 0.2 of a second, and bearing in mind he had 5 seconds a lap of hybrid and Dan Camish 11. Well done, Tom Ingram.
Yeah, and there's always a real sort of sense of achievement when you put it on pole at Thruxton, because, you know, this is a fast circuit, it is a circuit for the brave, and the other drivers all know that the guy that's on pole here has delivered a brave and skilled lap to do it.
There is a frustrated Dan Camish in the background.
I think Rowbottom will be the most unhappy, because he set a time that would have been as good as Ingram's in the 2nd phase of qualifying. So I think he's probably under-delivered in the final part, and Ingram has over-delivered.
Still Rowbottom's best qualifying of the year, but you're right, he'd like to have been on the front row, like to have had a pole position, and it ain't going to happen. He will make his way down to that queue. There he is, and Ash Sutton at the back, waiting to come into the pit lane.
Well, Rowbottom had 10 seconds more hybrid use than Ingram, so that's a big chunk.
Right, let's have a look then at the final order as qualifying comes to an end. It is Tom Ingram, the fastest in Q3 from Dan Camish and Jake Hill. Dan Rowbottom 4th ahead of Ash Sutton, and Tom Chilton rounding out the top 6. That's his best qualifying of the year, as also it is Rowbottom's best qualifying of the season. So there is some solace to be found, even if it's only 4th and 6th, Rowbottom and Chilton. And Tom Ingram's 8th career pole, 2nd of the season. As I say, the first person to take more than 1 pole position this year. And a really impressive effort as well with, for him, a slightly unusual number on the car, number 100 this week, in deference to the centenary of his sponsor. And as that car is placed under part fair make conditions, it will head to the team, and no doubt a delighted Ting will hop out and talk to Louise about what was clearly a very committed lap. A 1:15.379, 0.7 of a second covered the entirety of that top 6, but the man at the top of it, Tom Ingram. So the car ready to be released to the team. Camish and Hill, fair play to Jake, the only BMW to get into Q3. Good effort done. And Tom Ingram's car now is released from the technical area. Dan Camish's Ford brought forward. So there is the Hyundai, and Tom Ingram then, the 2022 champion, in need of points this weekend, having fallen to 3rd in the standings. But there, the car works its way towards the holding area at the end into Parc Fermé, joins those other cars that have been bumped out of qualifying. So Louise has to scamper down to the very far end of the pit lane. But there is Tom Ingram going now through the routine of taking off the belts and undoing the netting and unplugging everything. Jake Hill, third fastest, the only rear-wheel drive car into that last 6. Second row of the grid. Not a bad effort, that's for sure, from Jake Hill, and he's with Louise.
Not a bad effort at all, David. That's a smile on your face. I'm thinking you think that wasn't a bad effort either.
Yeah, I'm pleased, Lou. I really am. You know, I mean, coming back off of an amazing Snetterton, and we're still right there. So fantastic. And we're all a little bit dubious about how the car was going to behave here at Thruxton, and so far it's been pretty decent. It's good enough. It's third today and gives us a really solid chance to fight for some good points again tomorrow.
When you say good enough, I mean that's heading out around Thruxton with a car that's good enough. It's an interesting prospect, isn't it?
A little bit. You just got to hang on, But that's what I do best, right? So, I'm enjoying driving the Laser Beamer this weekend. It's good. It's not quite as good as it was at Snet, but like I say, I'm sure we'll be able to challenge for some podiums.
Well, we saw you doing some major hanging on, quite a big lock-up at one point out there.
Good lock-up, some really good skids as well. So in general, no, I mean, you're having to throw it around here. It's the only way to get the time out of it when the car's not quite at its peak, and we did it, that's all. I'm happy enough.
And it felt like the conditions were changing out there in terms of, when the sun came out and when the sun went in, it was a very different track that you had. For sure, and obviously a big thing here is the wind direction, and for us out the back, it changes the balance of the car so much. So it was a little bit trying and testing in those 3 quali sessions. The wind was changing, whether it was fast, slow, or the direction. So the balance was shifting quite a lot, but yeah, I'm happy. Good stuff, well done you. Now I can see Dan Camish over here, so let's wander over and grab a word with him, just dive in, having a quick chat here with his engineer, but I'm sure he won't mind if we dive in and say congratulations, front row start.
I know, honestly I'm proud of that one. We were nowhere today, really were nowhere, and I've been under the weather since Wednesday. Thursday I was sat with my head in the toilet wondering, researching how to make yourself sick. Couldn't do it. I struggled with that. So I felt off it last couple of days and arrived here under the weather, and we were off the pace this morning. Just didn't have enough speed, and generally after FP2 was pulling my hair out a little bit. Is it me? Is it the car? Is it a combination of the two? To be holding the second place water bottle and to be here with you, I didn't see it. But it's a lesson in keeping believing and knowing that if the car, I'm glad I trusted myself that if the car could be better, I would drive it better. And finally, we went far enough with the car setup to put it back into the right window, and the lap time just tumbled. Top napper car. Had nothing on Tom, but he'll be seeing a lot of me in tomorrow morning. So look forward to it.
At what point did you know that you had a decent car underneath you? Because obviously, if you've made big changes between FP2, when Tim was saying he spoke to you afterwards and you were not a happy man at all, when did the smile come back on your face and you think, okay, we've sorted it?
The confidence lifted after the first qualifying session, no doubt. I sort of came in, well done, mate. Came in to be told you're P1 and you've done the same lap time you did in practice, but now they're all behind you, and you're going, hang on a minute, what's happened there then? And suddenly, your confidence changes and you start thinking, well, maybe that was just an anomaly. Maybe actually they're going to come back to me now, and we've moved forward by chunks and everyone else has slowed down, apart from Tom Ingram, who actually has done about the same lap he did this morning. But, suddenly I'm in the mix when I wasn't. So really pleased. Thanks to Napa for giving me the opportunity, and all my team that have been mega. So, bring on tomorrow now.
Well done. And let's now bring in the man. If we just follow me around in this direction and go find the man, here he is, who is going to be up against Dan on that opening lap tomorrow. But let's talk first of all about that lap today. A great lap, but also how you came about that lap, because those 2 out laps that you had, those 2 warm-up laps that you had.
Yeah, we just tried to do something a little different this weekend, just to see if it paid off. And the difficulty here is that we only know the hard tyre. We don't have to use any other tyre. And Goodyear do a fantastic job of making a great tyre. However, this one is rubbish. It just feels low grip. It's the worst tyre we all want to be on. So it just doesn't give us anything. So yeah, we just tried something a little bit different just to see if it worked. If I'm honest, I don't think it's made any difference at all. I think it's just one of those things. But really pleased. Look, the cars felt fantastic today. We've worked hard at it all week, but I felt confident coming into the race this weekend. And it's just, it's felt alive right from the get-go. We've made such minute little tweaks to this car, and we're getting the results back from it. When we want it to do something, we can do the slightest of tweaks and get the response. So Team Bristol Street Motors have done a fantastic job, and even better, to celebrate the 100 years old Bristol Street Motors, which is why we're the number 100, and also my 100th race to accelerate. So it's it's a great way to start. We've got to make sure that we can do the hard work tomorrow and really maximise the point score. There's a word for getting big point scores. I don't know. Somebody knows.
Can't think. First driver to get 2 pole positions this season, but to get one at Thruxton, that's kind of a big tick in any driver's box. It gives you kind of bragging rights, doesn't it?
We could say the biggest qualifying day of the year. This place is tough. We are all so on the edge that the slightest change to wind direction, the slightest change, we saw it in Q1. Suddenly the track temperature rose and the circuit felt totally different. It's a really unique challenge for us to try and unlock this place, but it's a circuit I've always really enjoyed, but we need everything to align. As I said before, this is the circuit where you need all three. You need the car to be working, you need all a bit of luck on your side, that it comes together at the right time. And as a driver, you need to be confident in the car that you've got. And today we absolutely had that. And honestly, I cannot say enough good things about the car and how it felt. As I say, we've got to maximise tomorrow when it really matters.
That's when it counts, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Louise. So well done, Tom Ingram, then. And he takes a second pole position of the season. And there could be much to celebrate tomorrow. Let us find out in due course. For now, let's just remind ourselves of the provisional order at the end of Q3. Tom Ingram takes pole position from Dan Camish with Jake Hill third. Dan Rowbottom, Ash Sutton and Tom Chilton round out the top 6 from Q3. Then those that got only as far as Q2. Adam Morgan 7th ahead of Josh Cook. Then Andrew Watson and Colin Turkington to complete the top 10. 11th quickest, Mikey Doble and the battered car of Aaron Taylor-Smith 12th. And then those that didn't get out of Q1. Rob Huff, Aidan Moffat, Sam Osborne ahead of Darryl De Leon, Chris Smiley, Scott Sampton and Nick Halstead. And then whisper it, the driver that didn't get into Q1, Ronan Pearson, hugely frustrated. And he, along with Smiley and Moffat and Huff and to a degree Aaron Taylor-Smith, because he's almost at the back, if you like. They're all going to be drivers to watch tomorrow in that first race. There'll be a lot at stake in that first race tomorrow. 1 and 2 drivers discussing their hard luck stories at the end of Q3. But we look forward then to race day tomorrow, which is going to be on ITV4. 11 o'clock we will be on. It's going to be a really good day of racing as ever, not only of course with touring cars, but also Carrera Cup and the Mini Challenge and the British F4. But the Dunlop Mini 7 and Mini Melia Challenges are in town as well, and they always produce cracking racing at Thruxton, so there's that to look forward to as well. 11 o'clock tomorrow then, we'll be on ITV4 for a great day of racing from Thruxton, and we will look forward to seeing whether Tom Ingram can convert that pole position into a race victory. We've had it! So we will look forward to a busy day of racing tomorrow. For now, though, from Tim Harvey, Louise Goodman and David Addison from Thruxton, it's goodbye.